Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Green Tea Podcast. Oh, my voice. We had a long night last night. Well, Happy New Year's, Emma.
Happy New Year to you too, and to everyone listening, of course. Yeah, it's funny. My voice sounds kind of weird too because I had a cold, so it's just funny that your voice did that.
I'm like, did you have some fun partying last night for New Year's?
Right? Yeah. No, I actually worked last night. You went somewhere,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I did. I'll talk all about it.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, today we're talking about Capricorns. It's Capricorn season, and we're starting off the New Year's with Capricorn birthdays. And I feel like it relates to the New Year, New You, because Capricorns are known to be hardworking, everything with long-term sustainability, authority structure. So, Emma, tell us all about Capricorns.
Yeah, definitely. So Capricorn season this year runs from December 21st, 2024 into the new year, January 19th, 2025. I almost said 1995.
Mhm.
Um, so some themes of Capricorn, real quick. It is a cardinal earth sign. So it is often very good with focusing on the material realm and being pragmatic and practical in life. It is, like I said, a cardinal sign, which means it has strengths of initiation and assertion and kind of, getting things started. Maybe actually, I was going to say not for its staying power, but Capricorn is the one exception. So on that note, it is a sign that also is usually armed with a lot of endurance, perseverance. It's very ambitious and tenacious, strategic, and it rules the 10th house of things like our career, our public reputation, long term sustainability, longevity, structure, authority, things like that. And so, I'm sure there's a lot of information out there on the stereotypes of Capricorn, but things like responsibility, duty, and discipline, and kind of being that more like tough love and hardcore, serious
Mhm.
sign. Those are things that also fall under Capricorn as well. So yeah, that's kind of the general gist of this sign, I would say.
I love that because I mean every year starts with Capricorns, right? The birthdays don't
Yes,
change. Okay,
correct.
so it's crazy because now everybody is making their vision boards. They're like, what is my career gonna be? Like, what is my goal? And I won't show the entirety. I'm gonna blur some, but this is my vision board that I made.
Oh, yes, I love it.
Yeah, and I've never made vision boards before. I just
Mm,
like have it all in my head because I'm kind of lazy, but I feel like it's so nice to see exactly what I want to manifest. But I am all about like working hard. Let's get it. That's 2025. Like let's get to whatever amount of followers, money. So I am using that Capricorn energy. What do you
sure.
think?
I think it's awesome. I love it. I love that you made one. And I think what you said is very true too. I am actually kind of like finishing up a vision board right now,
Mm,
and similar to you, I don't usually make vision boards. I noticed for myself that I am a pretty visual person, maybe much like yourself, and so for me, usually I try to like do visualization exercises instead. But I do think that having a vision board is something that like every day it's there for you to look at. It doesn't take
yeah.
much of an effort, or focus. You just look at it and you see things. Um, I think it's a really like easy way. It's almost like a hack to
Mm,
manifesting, if you will, or something like that. So but I've noticed its increase in popularity over the past few years. And even, yesterday and the day before, all over social media, I'm seeing everybody post all these things about, oh, we had a vision board making party or da da
mm.
da. And it's people that, historically have been open about, oh, I don't really like that. I don't really care for that or that or whatever. And so it's cool to see people sort of harnessing that energy and trying to really put some effort into like a new way of manifesting or creating the life that you want.
Yeah, I'm curious why it has kind of blew up in the last few
Mhm.
years. Why do you think that is?
I don't know that I have a solid answer to that, but I do think that overall we as a society are becoming more open to spiritual things, to the
Mm.
concept that like our thoughts and our minds can create something for us. Um by that same token, being open to receiving like inspiration or tools that we can use to help that process along. um and I think vision boards are like one of those things. Essentially the way that I see it is it's really like a tool to help you. So I think I would like to think that maybe that's part of it. It's just generally this openness to it and increased popularity among society that have made people feel like it's more okay to try something new. I think
Mm,
that's a very like an honest reality of society is there's this group think mentality that we all have where um, maybe when we're the only person to be doing something or trying something out, it feels awkward, it feels weird, and people have something to say about it. But once we realize that, oh, everybody else thinks this is cool and everybody else is trying this, or everybody else is sharing their stories about how this has worked for them, now we're like, oh, hello, I want to do that too. I don't want to
yeah.
miss out or I want to be part of that, So I think a lot of it is also just the natural, just way of social dynamics. But I don't know. I would like to know your thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think that vision hold on, my dad's can you hear my dad in the background?
No.
Okay, that's good. So I do think that I think social media really blew up the whole vision board. And I've
Sure.
made new friends this year, and everyone's like talking about vision boards and what they want for like their next year's life. And I think that group mentality, like you said, hanging out with people with like-minded mentality has helped me to also grind, basically.
Sure.
So maybe for me, having that new group of friends, a new group of people has really inspired me. And also, again, spirituality. I've learned so much about spirituality this year and like how your thoughts really do shape and form your material life. So, yeah, I think everything you said, I agree with.
Yeah.
Um, so, what is one thing on your vision board that you want to share? And hopefully, we look back
Ooh.
at end of 2025. Did we do this last year? I don't think so, right?
I don't know. But I remember we did an episode where we were like, "Oh, we'll have to do another one in a year or something to
Yeah.
see." But I can't remember what it was. I'll have to go back and think about it. Yeah, I guess one thing on my vision board that I want to share, I'm trying to decide there are like two things and I'm like,
Yeah.
which one of these is worth sharing? I guess since I always talk about work, I'll choose something else. I actually would like to maybe manifest, if you will, for lack of a better term, some changes in like my home environment and
Mm,
like my living space and things like that. Like I love to travel, and I really think that I want there to be some type of mobile aspect to that home thing, whether that's like moving somewhere else or spending time in multiple different places as this kind of like different home paths, if you will. I don't know. I'm craving that change, and um, I don't know. I think this year is really the time
uh,
where I would love to see something different. So that it's giving Cancer energy, right? Cancer's themes of home and family and your roots and kind of all that stuff.
oh.
I would love to see a little bit of changes in that regard. So
Wow. So
yeah,
you're talking about legitimately moving to different places. And why do you
yeah.
feel that way?
I think part of it, I think, is just this desire innately that I have to travel and to always be moving and exploring and experiencing different environments and places. I've noticed that like every couple years, I get this urge to move. It's just like how it is, how it's been my
Mm,
whole life. So I think part of it is that, but I also think the other part of it is, I've been working really hard for the past 4 years on building my business and trying to figure out what direction do I really see myself taking astrology. And I have had some, revelations, which I would love to talk about maybe another time, not right now, but um, some revelations about that. And with those revelations, I do think that it could potentially put me in a position right now where it would be a good time or an interesting time to kind of move around and see what opportunities there are in all these different places and also what there is for me to learn so that I can grow in this new direction.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
2025.
that's right. I'm
Um,
coming for you. What about you?
for me, so on my vision board, I feel like the biggest thing that I want to do this year
Hmm.
was an aura change, I call it. It's a
Hmm.
change in not identity at all, but it's like I'm envisioning I have this girl right here. I don't want to show, but it's an aura of like how I want to look, feel, and present myself as. So there's this
Yeah,
an influencer, Korean
love it.
influencer. I love her, the way she does her videos, her makeup. Like, I've always felt like a chameleon in my life. Like if I want to change, if that's the aura I want to go to, I know I can do it. So that's why I
Yeah,
put her on my vision board. And I
cool.
feel like the way you dress, the way you think, the way you feel inside as a person, like it really does change the outcome of your career, the people that you interact with. So I really want to, there's a certain way that I want to present myself this year and
Yeah,
change myself in that way. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's funny that you say that because I think I can relate to that as well in terms of something that I want to kind of call in. It's like embodying the energy of how I want to present myself,
Yes,
from the
yes.
inside, like truly feeling that and radiating that energy instead of trying to not fake it, but trying to like adjust it from the outside, but be like, no, this is really the energy that I own from the inside. And,
Yeah.
and then it just comes off of me, like you said, like an aura. Wait, okay. So I'm so curious then. If you don't have to show the picture, obviously, but what are some, if you had to list like characteristics of this person that you want to embody more of, like which ones would what would you list?
Oh, so, so I don't want to say this in a negative way, but
Yeah,
she does high-end luxury lifestyle. But it's
sure.
not that I care about money, it's the aura of the status that I want
Mm,
to give off. But
okay, got
again,
it.
it's not about like the money part. It's like when you meet someone, you know this person is high quality person. They have deep intellectual thoughts, emotions, they're grounded. The way they, do their hand motions, the way they have their then it translates to the outer appearance, the way they have their nails done very neatly. You go to their
Mm,
home, it's not a mess. Like you notice these little details. So I
mm,
feel like that would also translate eventually into the way that I present my content, my
I see.
lifestyle, the people that I meet. So it's a more mature luxury, not in a money sense kind of
Yeah,
grace, you
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, totally. No, no, I totally get what you're saying. I
Hmm.
like that.
Who is Emma this year, you think? What is your embodiment?
So I think I feel myself really being called into like a lot of the Aquarius energy that sits in my chart, Aquarius and Leo actually. Notice myself a lot of times feeling some conflict with that energy of being seen and putting yourself out there and being authentic, whatever that even means anymore. Um, and so I think in a weird way, I have lived a life wherein in so many cases I've had to present a certain image of myself of being very like put together and like not strict but like like calm and zen and all these things.
Hmm.
And I think that I am that way a lot of the time, but I also know deep down that there is a very dramatic, theatrical, and kind of like lively side of myself. And I think I often feel like I have to choose between one or the other. Notice that like people expect one from me over the other. And when I'm not existing in the one that they're expecting, like I can get these sort of confused looks or just people are like, oh, I don't really understand like what's happening right now, which
Mm.
is not the problem at all. Who cares about that? Whatever. Um, but anyway, all that to say, I'm trying to, I think, lean more into this more eccentric and theatrical sort
Mm.
of creative side of myself and to um, allow myself to be a little bit more honest and I don't want to say authentic because it's just such an overused term at this point, but honest and authentic and almost like raw in some way
Mm.
with the world in general. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I feel so many things. I have so much to express, but I'm very comfortable and accustomed to kind of keeping that closed. And I think that's like great for a lot of cases, but I think in other times it stifles my own creativity and
Mm.
it doesn't allow me to say what I mean and mean what I say, So that's one of the things that I think I'm trying to embody more. And I just want to add really quickly that I think you can do that also without having to force it and trying really, really hard to be this dramatic and theatrical individual.
I love you said that because like the more that I go out to events, which I love, I
Yeah.
like to be social now, but it's like you can differentiate people who are just being, I don't want to say fake in a bad way because they might be
Mm,
just insecure. They don't know how to express themselves other than, the way that they do. And then
sure.
I see people who are just so authentic, mature, and they're honest, like you said. It doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with status or money. It's just you
Yeah.
feel so much more comfortable around just the way that you can exchange. And I just find myself now more and more longing to be with those people who are honest and
Yeah.
grounded. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love you said that because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are just, pretending and a lot of people who are just like grinding and fake out there. But again, like I used to do that too when I was like in my
Yeah.
early 20s. We all have, but yeah, I
Sure.
find myself longing for honest people these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that too. And it's like, I had a thought actually.
Mhm.
I think it's easy for us to experience that, what like what you said, this fakeness or this insincerity in a way. And even me, I think there are times when actually this is a perfect example, right? Like I used to work somewhere, and when I first started working there, I was very controlled and very like zen, very, people would always tell me like, you're so chill, like you're just
Mhm.
so calm and chill about everything. And then as everybody got to know me, I started opening up more, and they saw this more like, ah, oh my God, hey, crazy kind of side of me. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder, I really hope that people don't think that this is me being fake. It's actually like that when I feel comfortable with people, this is the side of me that starts to come out more, like one that's more playful and fun and, whatever. I don't even really know if anybody actually thinks that. It's just a worry that I had in my head.
Mhm.
But I can really relate to that, to what you're saying about how sometimes we do go about the world ourselves seemingly insincere, or sometimes we are genuinely being insincere. um and it's really refreshing when you can find yourself amongst people who are honest and true and move with integrity, so yeah.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah,
see at the end of the day, the people that who wants to, come off as inauthentic are just people who just wants to, okay, scratch that. I don't know how to put that into words, but all right.
I think you were
Uh,
going somewhere good with it though, because
should I try? Should I try with my words?
you should try, because I think if you don't know what to say, I was going to say, oh, I can see maybe where this would make sense.
I think that at the end of the day, everyone, especially when you're younger, you go out wanting to present yourself as the best version you can for the people that you meet, right? And maybe that's why for some people it comes inauthentic because I'm trying to look my best, you know? Of course, I
Right.
want to show my worst. And you're trying to grind. You're like, I want to get up there. I want to meet these people. I want to network, go up, 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 up. When you're younger, it's easier to be inauthentic. And then now as I'm getting older, it's like, okay, I have nothing to much prove anymore. I actually
Right.
I built my status. I built my money or empire. That's when you get comfortable and you're like, you don't necessarily need to show off anything, basically.
Yeah. See? No, exactly. I think you said that really well, and you related it to something personal, which is awesome.
Hmm.
But I agree that when you're young, so much of you, so when you're younger, you lack this maybe sense of who you are, your identity, your accomplishment, whatever it is. Only natural that
Hmm.
you would seek to figure out who you are by becoming what people are asking of you, or what people like, the way you do feel like, oh, I need to prove myself, or I need to become something so that somebody feels like I'm worth investing in or collaborating with or dating or whatever. So yeah, I totally, I think that there's a place for everything, which is, it sounds kind of like, you understand that as well. I think there's a place for everything. And even though it's great to be able to say now, like, oh, I know who I am, I'm solid in my identity and what I value and all these things, I think that we're always like changing too. And we're
Hmm.
going to, like, you and me now are also going to be different than you and me in 20 years. But does that make who we are right now any less authentic? In a way, not really, because we're just figuring this out, you know?
Hmm.
So,
No, I
yeah.
totally agree. Like you said, we're changing every single day. I change what I want to eat, you know? So our belief, our minds, everything change. It's like, who are we? And I saw this episode, like spiritual episode, and they said that the purpose of us, the spiritual being, is, and especially being the 3D world, is change. And we want change. It's the new idea that we constantly strive for, and
Yeah.
new buildings and new thoughts. That's the purpose of why we're here on Earth.
Yeah.
But I want to talk more about, I guess,
Capricorn.
Capricorns. I
Yeah.
know you were talking about how certain signs you see in certain fields, such as military, you see a lot of Cancer people, Scorpios,
Right.
and the nightlife. Where do you see the most Capricorns?
So I guess I wouldn't necessarily say for sure that, oh, I know that you'll see Capricorns in this industry, but stereotypically as well, you'll see even on the internet, Capricorns are the boss babes, right? There's CEO energy, all this type of stuff. And it is true that there are a lot of, people, I guess, who have Capricorn in their chart somewhere, even if it's not the sun sign. They might have like a strong Mars in Capricorn or a midheaven, which is your career indicator in Capricorn. Um, that could indicate that. um, However, I think with Capricorn, I notice more often, not necessarily the industry with that placement, but the role of that placement. So, for example, even if you don't have anything in Capricorn, I notice, I'm sorry, even if you have things in Capricorn and you're not an entrepreneur, I noticed that there are a lot of Capricorn people or people with strong Capricorn in their chart who embody like an authority or a leadership role in whatever industry they have. And that is the don't that is like a theme or a characteristic, if you will, of Capricorn is the authority figure. So I think for me personally, that's just what I notice more often. Is not necessarily that all of them are in business or entrepreneurship or government, which are all associated industries of Capricorn, but rather that most of the people will embody more of that leadership or authority role in whatever industry they are in. So yeah, that's kind of how I would say it plays out in the real world.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you or somebody else that you'll see a lot of Capricorns in law fields.
Mm. Um, it might have been me. I know that Libra and Sagittarius you can get in law a lot.
Mm, okay.
Um, Not always, but sometimes because Libra rules justice and balance. It's also
Hmm.
very good at weighing all perspectives of something, which is like very necessary for obviously being a lawyer. They're also very good facilitators and mediators, which is kind of like a role that a lawyer plays. And then Sagittarius because it rules morals and ethics
Hmm.
and belief systems. And so obviously when it comes to law, like there is a moral and ethical component to law.
Yeah.
Um, but I could see Capricorn in it because Capricorn, they do rule this kind of governmental and systematic
Mm,
like area of life. It's like the system and how the system is, which is very governmental. So law and the way that it is at this time is it is headed by an authority and it is in a certain structure. So in that case, yeah, absolutely. I could see a lot of Capricorns doing
got
that
it.
also. Yeah.
And what do you think is the shadows of Capricorn? Somebody who embodies a shadow side.
Yeah, so I would say that this can be things like rigidity or inflexibility. And this could be in any way, but especially emotionally. Capricorns pride themselves a lot of time on being very ambitious, driven, goal oriented, and highly successful individuals. And they are the opposite of Cancer, which is the sign that rules our emotions and all of our inner needs. It's ruled by the moon. So it's the exact like antithesis of that in a way. And so Capricorns can sometimes navigate the world believing that emotions make them weak or emotions are a nuisance that gets in the way of them making their great achievements or gets in the way of them doing good work and stuff. I'm sure you've
Mm,
heard before that lots of people are starting to fight back against the system because so much of the way our workforce works or has worked for so long is by being all about responsibility and no emotion and no personal problems and leave that at home and you just got to deal with it. Oh, like your whole house is damaged in a flood, too bad, you still got to show up to work, and there's like a lack of empathy sometimes that can occur in the workforce, especially corporate. And eventually there just became this huge movement toward mental health, which also includes like our emotional health and things like that. And so now people are being more active and proactive, sorry, about implementing initiatives for mental health or for wellness and teaching people sensitivity training and emotional intelligence training and things like that. Because we're starting to realize that our emotional experience very much is a part of our life experience in any area of life, including our work. So, bringing that back to where I was with Capricorn, they can sometimes feel like emotions are a bit of a nuisance and they can be a bit cold and rigid sometimes
mm,
with that. The other thing with Capricorn is because they are an earth sign, they're like the last of the earth signs. They're all about endurance, perseverance, things like that. I think of Capricorn as the energy of like climbing Mount Everest or running a marathon. I'm sure I've used this analogy before in an episode, but when you show up to climb Mount Everest, you don't just show up the day of and decide you're going to climb Mount Everest.
mhm,
You don't show up the day of a marathon and just decide, like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. Like, you train for these things, you build the endurance and the stamina, and you keep going and going and going. You put in a lot of effort over a long period of time to get to where you are. It's the same energy with Capricorn. It's the idea of like building and persevering, climbing the ladder up and up and up and up, even despite all the challenges that you might face. And then reaching that top feels very sweet because you've put in all this effort to get to where you are. Um, because of that, Capricorn can also have this thing where it wants to be the best at what it does. It's the Harvard of universities. You know what I mean? It's somebody who really wants to be the best, and so sometimes the shadow of that can also be a pretentiousness or this this belief or this way of being that implies, oh, I'm above you, I'm better
Mhm.
than you because I've achieved more, or because I have a greater status than you. It's treating people who have less than you poorly because you believe you are literally of a higher value than another person. um, so those are, I guess, other things. And then the last thing that I would say is, um, Capricorn is ruled by the 10th house. I'm sorry, Capricorn rules the 10th house. And the 10th house is the highest, most public facing point of the entire natal chart. And so that can imply, right, that Capricorn feels in a positive way, a strong sense of duty and responsibility to do something for the world or to achieve their goals, whatever. But because they rule this public facing house and they're so tied to public perception, public persona things, that can lead them into a space where they do a lot of craving external validation and desire for other people to praise what they do in order for them to feel like it's good enough, or that they should keep going or not keep going, or whatever the case might be. I think everybody can struggle with that no matter their sign, of course, but I do know that that can be a strong thing for Capricorn, is caring a lot about what other people think and wanting them to validate that in order for them to feel good about themselves or about what they're doing.
Well, I kind of actually, I know you know I like Aries energy, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of starting to like Capricorn energy.
Yeah, I think that I actually think it's funny that you said that. I think that Capricorn and Aries, I notice a lot of similarities between. It's like certain signs like Libra and Sagittarius, I notice certain qualities that are similar. And yeah, Capricorn and Aries I think are very similar in that they're both very, they're driven toward leadership and positions of power and authority and being in control and wanting things their way and no other way.
Mhm.
Um but they can be some of, like, I know we just talked about the shadows of Capricorn, but they can truly be some of the most like admirable people. It is very difficult to not want to give up when things get tough, and it's very easy to enjoy something or to want to continue with something or to speak highly of something when it provided for you some type of instant gratification. But when you've had to work your ass off for something, or you've had to endure a lot of struggle before you get someplace, it can be a lot harder to rejoice with that, and so that energy of Capricorn is what sustains us through that. It's what just puts the backpack on, and it's like, you know what, this is not going to stop me today. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to keep going, and today might not be great, but we're going to keep going, and tomorrow could be better. And they keep going, and they keep building and building and building and building. And it's, personally, I just feel that there's so much admiration I have for that, for people who have that type of energy, because they really get to show us what it really means to work hard, what it means to have a strong work ethic. There are people that I know that have a lot of Capricorn energy that have some of the most incredible work ethics I've ever come across in my life. um, Nothing stops these people, and it's just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think they share that with Aries. um, I think, though, one of the differences is that Aries is a fire sign, and fire is more about passion and intuition and its presence in the moment. So, one of the things is that Aries can be very good at maybe pushing something forward and starting something and leading a movement. But Capricorn has a little bit more of that staying power because it's an earth sign. Um, but they both do carry that same like initiation, like leadership type of energy. And both make really fantastic leaders in their own way. Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just thought of a crazy question, and this is kind of like, did the chicken come first or the egg come first question? Do
Yeah.
you think that when we are a spirit, if you guys believe in past life and stuff, do
Yeah.
you think that we pick a date to come onto the earth, like with the horoscope and everything, to align with the type of mission that we want to have? Or do you think we just come whenever the picked date your mom and dad, decided to, and then have you, and then we just kind of like formed into the molded into the horoscope that we were just came into, if that makes sense. So it's
Hmm.
like, which one came first? Because if it's the first theory, it means that our parents got pregnant and had us at the right timing. There was like a destiny, that they had to get pregnant at a certain time. If it's not that, if it's a second theory, then there is no destiny, it just happened, you know what I
Right.
mean?
The question of the century, isn't
Yeah.
it? um, I I definitely think I think it's this weird balance of like both. I think there's
Mhm.
this weird certain things happen that maybe we can't control and that would have happened regardless, and then there's other aspects of like there's choice and free will that something could change that. I want to
It
say
is
that
hard.
maybe, yeah, it's hard. I would like to believe that maybe there was some type of like, ooh, I chose to come at this
Yeah.
point, you know, and that is reflected in my natal chart. It's not because of my chart doesn't dictate that, it's just reflected in my
Mm-hmm.
chart. And I'll just try to, I guess I'll just give this as an example, right? So I was born in January, on the 28th of January, but I was not set to be due to come into the world until like later. I was allegedly born early. I was
Oh.
adopted, so some of this information might not be fully accurate, but to my knowledge, I was born prematurely. I don't know
Mm.
how prematurely, but I was. And so I think about that because I look at my chart and I'm like, huh, like if I had been born any later, then I would have had certain placements that are different. Even like 2 or 3 days later, I would have
Mm-hmm.
had totally different placements. And a couple of those placements would have been in totally different signs. So for example, I have a moon in Sagittarius. It's at 29 degrees, which is the last degree that you can have a moon in Sagittarius before it graduates to moon in 0 degrees Capricorn. If I had been born like even the next day, I would have had a moon at 0 degrees in Capricorn. Another thing is that I have Mars at 28 degrees in Leo. But if I had been born like a week or 2 weeks later, then I would have had Mars like somewhere else, I think, like either at 29 degrees Leo or 0 degrees Virgo. And 29 and 0 are critical angles in astrology that imply vastly different in some ways lessons. So I don't know. I think about that type of stuff and I'm like, huh, like maybe there was a reason that I was born, like crucially and critically at the time that I was born, because I do notice that a lot of those themes, with Moon and Sagittarius, for example, are ones that I've like really had to learn in my life, and they feel very, very strongly um, there, like present in my life. And so yeah, it's like, do I think that's entirely all just destined for me and there's no choice that I have? No. But do I feel like there's no meaning to that? No. I mean, I think there's something to that. But I'm, like I said, I'm kind of like biased because I'm super into all this theorizing and, spiritual stuff and hypothesizing all the ways we might be connected that we just can't see yet, so I think I am more inclined to say like there's something to it, you know.
Yeah. I think humans are not obsessed, but we want to believe the idea that some part of us was destined, like something was
Yes.
chosen for us before we came here. And I don't know, maybe that is because we humans want to find a meaning and define a meaning
Sure.
to everything.
Yeah.
So I would like to believe, like you said, I like the theory of being reflected. I have a spirit. Hey, I want to experience A, B, C, and D. And maybe that will be reflected if I was born in Gemini this time around, like you said. But I do think that a lot of things are not controllable, such as like environment, the way we grow up, the friends, different kinds of friends that we meet. And do I think that every person and every single day and at what time I eat was destined?
Right.
I don't think so, but I do
Right.
think like, yeah, like what you said, it reflects maybe what we wanted to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said that. I love that. I love the way you said that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's
because
just,
I know my mom was like, when she got married, I think she said she tried to conceive me for like 2 years. So let's say I
yeah.
was born 2 years earlier. Would I have met you? Would I have
Right.
done this career? I would have been a totally different sign. But
Sure.
at the same time, well, if I was born at a different date, maybe something else would have worked out for me.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the crazy mysteries. I think you said it really well when you were talking about meaning. Like, I think we as humans seek to justify and further lean into and accept our experience through deriving meaning from what happens,
Hmm.
And I think the reality that I've come to is just you can believe whatever you want to believe about whether it was destined or not destined, this and that. But the reality is that we're here and we won't know what it would have been if it was something else. Like you
Hmm.
said, you're here now and this is what it is. You don't know what would have happened if, say, your mom convinced you in only 1 year or it took her 4 years to conceive you instead of two. Just like, I was I was born and then adopted from Korea, but like what if I hadn't been conceived at that time, or what if instead of being put up for adoption like I was like aborted or something, then I would have been born at a different time if ever,
Hmm.
but I don't know that, and there's just no way for me to know that, and that's just I think another kind of eerily beautiful thing about all of this is like there's a lot that we don't know, and there are so many hypotheticals and other scenarios that we could think about or imagine, but we don't actually know what they are. But what we do know is what we have here now today and what we're doing, and that's really all I think we can always tangibly work with.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
why I don't love the idea of parallel universes because it's
Mm,
always keeping us thinking what if, could have, should have, would have,
mm,
but it's not, it's
yeah.
here now. It never
Right.
happened the way that we fantasized or could have.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. That'll be an interesting conversation for like maybe Pisces season or something. We can talk about
Oh,
that.
really? Why? Why is that?
I mean, Pisces is all about kind of this ethereal, fifth dimensional, transcending the human experience type of energy. I mean, there are very human aspects of Pisces energy, but it kind of just talks about this strange existence and non-existence at the same time, this tangibility and this
Hmm.
intangibility and this elusiveness that's always around us, this thing or this energy or whatever it is that we can't quite put our finger on, but like there's
Hmm.
something there, or is there, and it's just confusion, delusion, illusion, all of the things, including I think maybe some things like the concept of like a parallel universe
Mm,
or other, whatever, which by the way I'm definitely not denying. Who knows? You know what I mean? Who's to say there isn't? But yeah, that's why I was saying
yeah.
maybe Pisces.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest thoughts I had this week is like
Yeah.
somebody constantly telling me okay, scratch. So one of the biggest like concept that I was hearing and thinking a lot about this week is life is meaningless, meaning we're able to put a meaning to it. So
Right.
nothing is set in stone. But that also is just so odd because okay, if everything is meaningless, does anything matter? But maybe
Right.
because nothing matters, I get to choose what matters. But does it matter about the things that didn't happen?
Right.
I mean, do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
every day, it's like maybe the person that you met, the ex you met, it was meaningless. And you
Right.
get to say it was meaningless. It meant nothing to me. And it's like, or you get to put that meaning to it and say, this person taught me something, or this person gave me trauma, or whatever. Um, it's a scary thought that if it's meaningless, it's pointless. Then
Right.
that my life and this experience that you had for a couple years or months meant nothing.
Right.
So that's just outside of the thought that I've been having.
Interesting. It reminds me of this conversation that I had with somebody like this was several years ago, but I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about that, and she in her chart she has Chiron in Sagittarius. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's an insecurity that we feel we have that we don't really know if we'll ever overcome, but we can learn to master it and thus teach other people, how to overcome that same thing. Sagittarius, for her, the way it played out was this wound around beliefs and what she believes is true for her. And she had said to me one time, she's like, I feel like I'm having this existential crisis because the thought that everything is destined makes me depressed. That like everything is destined, the meaning of everything is already set, and all this stuff. Because she's like, that implies that I have no control or anything whatsoever about my life, and I'm just going by the whim of however destiny's taking me. But she's like, it also makes me feel really depressed to think that it could be the opposite, where like none of this, none of this is all random and nothing matters at all.
Hmm.
She's like, so then what the heck am I doing? Why am I even here? um and I think that's something that personally, like, I totally get where she's coming from, and I think a lot of us can relate to. And it just kind of goes to show, I think, our capacity as people to want to understand something and to have some semblance of like control of the narrative that we tell ourselves, um to know how to then manipulate, not manipulate in a negative way, but then navigate our lives after that, you know and I think so much of the like not solution, I can't think of a better word, but the solution almost to that is realizing that like it could be one, it could be the other, it could be both, it could be neither. And it's truly like the way that you want to look at it and the perspective that you want to have, that is what you
Hmm.
can choose. I mean, unless at some point down the line we're taught and proven otherwise, that
Yeah.
things are in fact destined or things are in fact not destined or whatever. It's I guess all we can really do is think about things from the perspective of what we can change and what
Hmm.
can be meaningful for us, or at least try and see what happens. But anyway, it's a whole long conversation. But yeah, I just thought of that after you said that because I think that's
That's
such a real
crazy.
thing.
I feel like my fear is the fact that it's not destined, meaning everything's pointless. And then somebody
Yeah.
else might have a fear that, hey, everything is destined. I don't like that. So now we go into this whole different rabbit hole of like, okay, so both fears exist.
Right.
So
Yes.
I do want to say that I love Capricorn energy because I think my parents have always taught me to persevere. And this could come from this
Mm,
Asian household mentality,
yeah.
immigrants and, Asians loving to study, study, study. And I hated that when I was younger, but now as an adult, I don't quit easily. I've been doing this entertainment work. I had my ups and downs. I've had my lawsuits and like, breakups and makeups. It's been a tough ride, but I love this job. I know I was born as a Gemini, Libra rising, whatever, just to be a chameleon and try to handle everything like a juggler, like a magician. And I still love the entertainment industry no matter what. So I've been doing this for a while now. And also now I've gone into content creation, which relates to entertainment. And there's going to be times when I don't get a lot of views. Maybe I won't make as much money. But I just had this since last year. I know I had this like deep knowing that I was meant to be in this place and I'm going to persevere. And I have
Yeah.
seen great efforts where I've made a great living through content creation. I've learned a lot, but there's still times when, I have my downs, but I don't want to
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
As I see a lot of people in this day and age where we give up everything too quickly because of instant gratification, right? So I do love that part of me where I do persevere and I've been here and I'm so lucky to have been pretty successful. I went to a content creators like party yesterday, New Year's Eve. It was one of the best New Year's Eve that I've had
Oh,
in my life. And I know last year I
wow.
was super depressed, but if I didn't persevere and I gave up, I wouldn't have been here. And I know I
Right.
got into the K beauty space in 2024. I just happened to have this idea. I made a video, it did well, so I kept going at it. There was downs, it wasn't always ups.
Sure.
So I feel like persevering, and if you truly know that you have this talent, work on it, see the fruits, and I'm so happy right now.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love to hear
Yeah.
that. What a great story. Yeah, it's been cool to see how the beauty stuff has really started to flourish for you, even despite, like you said, maybe not having it be up all the time, but having
Hmm.
to go through these ups and downs with it. Um, yeah, that's really amazing. I love that. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
How about you?
Yeah. Um, so what I would say is actually kind of like a random, it's not necessarily correlated to any specific industry or like area of life, but just generally. I think with Capricorn energy, one of the the strengths of it is that it teaches us the value of working hard, not necessarily working smart. Although I want to be very clear in that Capricorn is also very strategic, so sometimes they do teach us both, like how to be smart, how to work smart and work hard. The point that I'm trying to make is I think Capricorn might find themselves at times in situations where they're working really, 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 really hard. And they feel like, why am I not seeing the fruits of my labor? And I've been working so hard. And they'll look around and they'll see other people who seemingly are doing less work but getting results like right away, or
Mm.
they faster than they start to see the fruits of their fruits of their labor, and it causes resentment. It can make them feel like, "Oh, what the heck, like what am I doing wrong, or why is it that everybody else is da 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 da." And so I think that that's a really important thing to know with Capricorn. If you have strong Capricorn in your chart, or if you just notice that as a theme in your life, you don't have to have strong Capricorn. You could have just like a bunch of stuff in the 10th house, or you could have Mars aspecting, I don't know, Saturn or something in a weird way. I think, yes, we all want instant gratification and we all want to be able to say that the minute that we put something into action, it bears fruit. But sometimes that doesn't happen. But sometimes that's the most beautiful like lesson and blessing that you can be given, is that something doesn't happen right when you expect it to happen. And that instead it teaches you kind of what you said, the value of perseverance and working hard. And you get to learn about yourself along the way. You get to learn about whatever it is that you're doing or working on in ways that maybe somebody who got this instant return didn't get to learn. Not because they're incapable or anything like that, but just because they never had that experience. It never happened because the fruit became the fruit right away, you know? So so yeah, I just think that that's something interesting to consider too, is like if anybody listening is experiencing this where you feel a little bit like what the hell, you know, everybody else is getting theirs and I'm still here working hard. Uh don't worry. I kind of go about life with this belief that you know, when you continually put good in and put effort in, eventually something has to give in to you, you know? Like
Hmm.
there's only so much that can happen before eventually something happens. Even if though it's not the reward that you thought you were going to be getting. So keep that in mind too. It can be maybe you do bear some fruits of your labor, but it's not the fruit that you were expecting. And maybe the only reason that the fruit hasn't come to you is actually just because you were expecting a certain type of fruit, and that's just not the fruit you were getting. And the fruit has been born, bared, I don't know,
Hmm.
but just in a different way. So yeah, I don't know.
I totally relate to that. I just want to add lastly that
Yeah,
there was this happened already, so I could talk about it. There was
yeah,
a psychic who gave me it was a tea reader thing. She told me that I was going to get a lot of, there was a sign of a Santa giving me early gifts.
huh,
Now looking back,
interesting.
now the time has passed, I'm like, okay, but I liked how she gave it as symbols instead of saying this is going to happen because a lot of
Yeah.
psychics that I went to where they get specifics, it didn't happen, right?
Mm.
But she's like, you're going to get early Christmas gifts. And I look back at the last 2, 3 months, I'm like, wow, I've really received great presents this year.
Yeah. Oh
Early
wow.
presents in many different forms. I'm not talking about just like
Yes.
monetarily.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe that was what she was talking about. So
Yes.
it comes in a way that I think it would come in. So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the things I've received. Like you said, it comes in many different ways.
Yes. Beautifully said. Couldn't have said that better. I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank
Awesome.
you guys for watching. If you guys are Capricorns, happy birthday. Remember, share actually down below what your New Year's resolution is. See you guys in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Time's been moving slowly, so we are.